Oh, all right. Where are we at? So we're going to do the ratchet plate. I'll take a look at this assignment somewhere. I have my canvas open. This is just our schedule. So let's see. Ratchet plate's really the second one of the group, and that's fine. Um, it's in inches, so I'll use my new inch template. I'll open that up, and we really can put it on either. So maybe I'll open my template that has all my sheet sizes because that says I can either use, well, I can choose my sheet size, I can choose my scale. As long as I mark my title block appropriately, that'll be good. Got to determine the best views, front, top, right side. And so I've got this hint, it's only one view is necessary on this because it's kind of like a 2D drawing file essentially, or like a cut file, like a laser cut file. So something that might be just flat and cut. The following resources. Okay, so then, oh yeah, dimension key. So there is chapter 10. You've already gone over this information on these pages 303 to 304. They show some little imagery. I do not have that up, but they show some small imagery that shows how ASME likes to dimension keyways, key seats. So this is, and it seems like it's not that important, but it really is important because this type of what we have going on here is kind of a keyway on this plate, which is just a center bore with a little bit of a like a rectangular part here. And so this might be confusing. This is really important for me to talk about mechanical. It's just a way we're going to transmit maybe a force to something, or maybe keep something from turning. But what do I have here? Oh, I have like a GD&T mini little video here. You may be able to hear this, but really the sound isn't that important as more. It's just the imagery here. So let me see. It's like,
Two common types of features you will see on your prints are key seats and keyways. These features are normally used to ensure orientation or restrict movement between parts. Keyways are slots created by removing material on an
so this is kind of what we are going to have going on our part. So our part essentially, it looks like a saw blade, maybe ratchet plate, but essentially it has the same characteristics that this has. This is going to be kind of the driven part of this assembly. So this assembly would have some type of a drive shaft, and then it has a key. So we'd have a key seat in the yellow. This is called a key seat, the way it's cut. And then we have the keyway cut in the green one. And when they slide together, you would insert the key and they would lock those two together. And then this all has to be engineered for size. And what's going to take kind of the load in this, we're going to take the force, is this key, this key and the way it fits into the key seat and into the keyway. It's all really critical. Like machinists in their huge machining Bible have exactly what these keyways need to be for which size of shafts and how long the key needs to be. It's because you're gonna transmit force from one thing to another, and you don't want them to shear off, be too small, be too large, and not allow the thing to shear. They're actually engineered. There's a pretty particular engineered design when it comes to the way we would hook stuff like this together. And this happens in our world all over us. It's just a real common way to couple things together, but it has a real specific way we like to dimension that. So the way they show this is the person that's going to cut this in is maybe going to use a broach such as this, like over here on the far left is a tool that's in a machine that's going to actually cut this. So we may have already had the two bores machined, and now we're going to cut the keyway maybe at the end, and we're going to have to hit these dimensions specifically to hold that key and that shaft through our keyway that we draw. So this is the way that they would like to specify. There's one missing dimension here, and it might be just a dimension off center, so like a location dimension. And so sometimes it'll get omitted if it's like if they're just going to put the center crosshair, and it's going to be generally understood that the key way that's been cut is centered on the bore, or on at least on vertical centers here, vertically aligned here. But you can also put a dimension here from center to the edge to then take out any of the gray area that might be, and tell the person that it is based off the center line. So with that in mind, we're gonna this is kind of how we're gonna dimension ours. I think it goes a little further.
Cylindrical feature. And key seats are slots created on an external feature, like shafts. On your prints, key seats and keyways will typically have their depth, width, and location specified, as to give the full size and location of where the cut is to be made. To make a measurement of the depth easier, you should see the depth shown from the opposite side of the shaft or bore, so it can be easily measured with a set of calipers or micrometers. Our goal.
Excellent. That's what I wanted to show. Now I would love it for those who look like they're hooked up to some pieces of equipment. And then we get the even a more clear representation of what is going on there. But this is a common thing in the mechanical world. So let's start drawing this. So I'm going to go to I think I'm just going to pull up this file. Essentially, I'm just recreating this as it is. Um, so there's not a lot of ambiguity to this assignment per se. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm going to recreate this essentially. I might be able to drop this diameter symbol. This may be it's definitely redundant, or I don't know. Like I could keep it or leave it. The diameter, it wasn't shown in the video there for GD and T. I'm okay at this point if we have the diameter, and then the key, and then as long as we've dimensioned the keyway, like kind of it shows there. So I think I re-uploaded this imagery just because I think I had some imagery where it was drawn on there. I didn't want everybody to do that. So I will open up my PDF for that particular assignment. It's week 7. Yeah, so I've got my PDF open of the same essentially. Yeah, if I look at just if I plan out how to draw this, this is definitely just going to be an array pattern. I'm going to draw one of these little saw blades. Oh, I don't want to install an update yet on Adobe, but I'm gonna draw one little spoke of this ratchet plate or saw blade looking thing, and then I'm just gonna array that around. Looks like it's 18 of them. Um, just based off when I look at this, the way I would proceed to draw this is I'd probably draw a blade that's either that's probably lined up with either 12, 6, 3, or 9. In this case, it's like 3 or 9. I have a good alignment of like a blade on the 9 and 3 o'clock. Like here would be a little harder to start drawing maybe at 12 o'clock to draw this blade in. So just me, I can see just the natural lay of this part is I'm going to begin it over here and use maybe some of this data that I'm given to lay out that one little saw blade here, ratchet plate. So let me start drawing this out here. Yeah, so I'm gonna use since I have the option of an A or B size sheet, I kind of need the templates that has those sheets, right? So I've downloaded my template files, and I would encourage you to download yours. And if I do make any adjustments, I'll just tell you to re-download whichever one. But right now I haven't used them a lot since I've re-uploaded them, so sometimes I don't find out there's issues till I start using those templates. But um, I downloaded all the ones that are current in the resources area in my template area, and I'm going to use the ASME inch ISU that has all of the sheets. So I'm going to use this one. Got all my sheets. Obviously, I'm not going to use. So what I mean is, so if I'm opening a file or a template file and it has a bunch of stuff I'm not going to use, I know I'm either going to use A or B size. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete these other sheets. They're just unnecessary data. And mine is already a drawing. Don't do this to your template file, right? When I open mine for my file, I'm all on the DWG, so I'm already separate from the DWT. So don't like keep these on your DWT file. But if you're in the drawing file, which is how I open mine, then I'm going to go ahead and delete, clean this up just so I don't have a bunch of extra, uh, yeah, just layouts that I'm not going to ever need for this particular drawing. Yeah, it would just be, which is why I have one particular one that's just the B size sheet. Is because I'll end up probably using it more, but where I have a few assignments where I don't know which one fits better, and I'm kind of interested to know if it looks good on a size sheet. So that's the only reason. So I'm not going to get rid of that one, but excellent. So I'll just drop into the model here and start drawing this. And maybe I'll start with, I'm gonna actually start with my center. Um, so I'm on my center layer, and I'm just gonna I'm gonna lay this out from kind of the circle. Like I have two circles that are kind of center circles. And I think I'm going to start with those. I think it's a good place to base this off of. I'm looking at these center-like circles that are kind of like just helping me understand which diameter is out to the very points of these and maybe to the inner bottom trough of the point. I have these two diameters. I'm going to draw those first two. So I've got a 6-inch and an 8-inch diameter center circle somewhere. So maybe I've got like a 4-inch radius one here, and I'm going to reference that. They're on center of each other, and then a 3-inch. You could start this any way you want, but just make sure I got the right diameters. They are going to have a center mark on these for sure, so maybe it's helpful to have that as I start here. And something I just might take care of right off the bat is the extensions. Yeah, so I feel like I get a little more information here. I wouldn't know how to maybe start that tooth and I'll worry about the keyway in just a minute. So I think I'll just worry about the perimeter here. Looks like I have, I'm going to draw some visible line work here, visible object. Well, on my sheet, it says they're 6-inch diameter and 8-inch diameter. You'll notice on some of the, sometimes when you open these templates, and they could be a little different for every template or layout that you have here, uh, sometimes the snap to, I don't know. I've noticed with these templates, sometimes my snap to grid turns on all by itself for some reason. I do not know why, but I generally don't like my snap to grid on. But if you do use it, that's fine. It's your choice. I just noticed on some of these templates, it seems like it is on a lot. But so then these are like 20 degrees down is what I noticed. So I'm looking at how, I mean, this is at least a vertical member here, and then it's gonna come down 20 degrees, I think is what it says. Or it's like depending on which way you're coming from angularly, but what is this angle? I don't know, but they call this 20 degrees. Well, between that one and this one is 20 degrees. That's a little bit misleading too. That's actually up to the next straight section is 20 degrees. So I think I'm going to put this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here 20 degrees and put in another line, and then I'm going to be able to connect these 2 points here. So I might actually be drawing this one first, kind of based off this one though. What I need is a point here and a point here out on this line that is 20 degrees. But just don't mistake that, this is not 20 degrees between those two. It's 20 degrees between the straights here. 20 degrees, every 20 degrees, there's a kind of this perfectly straight member here. So I might do that one, put that one in based off this one and draw this one. So maybe my first tooth that I'm going to complete that I'm going to array is probably going to be this one right here, just based off what I've got. Or I could come 20 degrees down and stay with the one I'm doing. Maybe I'll do that. I could either way, but I'm going to have to come 20 degrees down and put another one in. It's the only other data I'm given here, so I feel like, and whether or not I um, array that or do that, you could do that anyway. I can just do a temporary line here, a construction line I like. And this construction line essentially is going to be from here and 20 degrees this way, right? So maybe I'm going to see if I can toggle on 20 degrees. Here's a particular selection that includes 20 degrees. So there's that. Every 10 degrees I'll get here. So there's 10 and there's 20 if I'm looking at and I can tab over there and enter 20 so I don't get a mistake if and so and I could have gone above. Each one is 20 degrees away. So, but I feel like I'm going to draw here to here now. Those are the two straights that would be, I probably don't need that necessarily because what I'm looking for is just one tooth, which is from here to here. So technically I probably didn't even need to draw this in. I can delete it, but I already had the intersection point that I needed. So there's one. Now I just need to array that around 18 times. And I could maybe join this before I do that. So I might, I think when I do my array, it'll all be joined though. This would be a part where I'm not going to do multiple views. And the reason why is because the depth of this part can be handled. And this can happen a lot with sheet metal. This can happen a lot with other like I don't know, I think of plywood and any kind of like common stock lumber or common stock plastic. Like with my laser cutter, I kept plastic and wood on it. And so really I can just tell the machine how thick I want this. And what's carrying that dimension is definitely got to be a note here. So this would be critical to say this plate thickness is 0.125. So this is where it's carrying the depth. That's why a single view is only needed here. It's just and it's almost ready to be a cut file for a laser or something to fabricate it. Could still be a machine part, but could be something that's cut even slightly coarse and then machined finish. So there's all kinds of different. If we know what the part is for sure, we would totally draw it maybe differently than it is if we knew how it was going to be manufactured specifically. So let's do an array. Array. I'm going to do a polar array. Just those two parts. Yeah, I think so. This is going to be based around my center of everything, and it preloads 6, but I need 18, I think it says, and then I think it will fix my 20-degree increments there. So I'm just kind of just checking a tooth here to make sure it looks good. Looks good to me. I'm going to say close my array. Yeah, I like that. And then I just need to do the keyway here. So to me, I need to have that diameter to draw it because even with the keyway dimensioning, I may not I may not I just don't have any other dimensions of how like tall this key is to know which the diameter is. So I do feel like I need to know this to draw it. What that I'm going to draw that in first, and then I'll work on this keyway that looks to be a quarter, and it's an 1/8 inch off center, and then it extends up 1.36. Yeah, that's okay. 1.36. I'll leave it. I do have one, just note this, which is something I'm real critical on. Right now, they're holding me to 3 decimal places on this particular dimension. I don't want to change that. I want to keep that accurate. So it's the only dimension I need to be careful of here. Otherwise, this will round up to 0.13, and that will not really jive with this one, or it'll be slightly off center. So it's critical that this carries 3 decimal places so it can show that it's perfectly centered. So let's draw at least in the bore diameter here, which is 1 1/4, and half of 1 1/4 would be 5/8. So I call 0.625 5/8. That's 1 1/4 diameter. Yep. And then you could draw this anyway. Maybe I'll just come up here. This little keyway gets cut. It says it's 1 and 1.36 from the bottom here, and measuring up here, maybe like a 1.36. So I just cursored up. That doesn't seem correct to me. Let me see. That's correct. That's 1.36 from the bottom. I just cursored up. Now I'm going to drive this over 0.125 and then straight back down to where it hits that key there like that. That's just half the keyway there. So I used 1.36 up, over 1/8 of an inch down, and I'm just going to mirror that over, mirror those two parts, and maybe I'll join them. If I get into my mirror command correctly. Those two along the center. No. I might just join these. Might trim this first, though. I'm going to trim out this. I might just do a join, though. I'm going to join all these. So it's a single selection keyway here that's joined. My array will all be joined, so I'll have, this is something I like to check if I need to know it's a laser cut part that I'm kind of building a flat pattern or a cut file, you'll hear me call it. But flat pattern is another name for it. It's like a flat pattern. I think I've told you before that a lot of machines, like the machine file type is a .dwx, and So even 3D programs were able to export the flat pattern like this into a DWX file that will be interpreted by um, it will be interpreted by machines. So I could choose that type of DWX file right here. It's DXF. Sorry, I'm saying DWX like I'm an idiot, but DXF, that sounds right. I'm not going to turn this into this. I just want to show you that it is a common file type in your options to save this as a DXF. That would be ready for machine interpretation. Generally, in some places of manufacturing, what you do is you supply, your prints that are all dimensioned out. You might, at the end of your prints, have a whole bunch of prints that are just flat pattern cut file parts like this, ready for machine interpretation. And then, because a job might have like hundreds of parts that are going to be cut out first, and so I might compile those at the end of my sheet pack to have all my cut files ready to go to someone. At a lot of places, maybe there's like some prefabrication personnel that will actually take all your files, and then they're the ones that are in charge of like what we call nesting. So if this is cut out of 1/8" plate, maybe it's an 1/8" metal part. Some like a company that's kind of trying to think 5S or think Six Sigma, lean manufacturing concepts. They're, as jobs come in, they're going to grab all those parts that are 1/8" thick. They're going to bundle them all together on a sheet, and they're going to organize them so that they're maximizing sheet cuts. It'd be like anything. I'm not going to grab this part on a 4x8 sheet and put it right in the middle and cut it. I'm going to nest. So somebody's job usually nest all these parts to utilize materials as well as they can, bundled parts together on sheets, like parts being cut out of like sheets. And then, of course, parts are all mixed up on those, and it's somebody's job to keep track of it. A lot of lasers, it will etch their part numbers on there so they don't get lost in the mix, little parts, big parts. But that's somebody's like all day job sometimes is just nesting, and maybe AI will take over that at some point. But currently, I mean, they do make some software packages for cutting equipment that easily imports these DXF files, and somebody's got to arrange them on sheets to maximize productivity, I guess. Yeah, using materials. Okay, so I just ready to mention this. This thing is like done, I think. Yeah. So I'm ready to kind of take a look and see what this looks like. Maybe I'll just on my B size sheet, I'll zoom in and find it here, get an idea of what it looks like. I think I'm at 1:1 on my B size sheets. Probably not going to quite fit. It's probably going to have to be down. 1/2 scale is probably going to look really small. Yeah, I'm probably going to want something in between a half and a 1, 3/4 scale or something. So if I'm going to use B size sheet, I feel like I'm going to make a custom scale. So let me take a look at the A size sheet. Maybe the A size vertical might be a good. I mean, it's funny once you have a title block and stuff, you don't get a lot of drawing room on these sheets. But let's take a look at what this would look like since I have the choice. Unlock this thing and find it. There it is. It's probably a decent candidate for an A size half scale. So this would be this would allow you to not have to make a custom scale, like a half scale on the A size sheet. This one looks pretty good. I think it would look fine on this one too. If I jump over here real quick, maybe it doesn't quite fit as well. Well, that's fine. I'm probably going to. I'm just kind of like playing around to see which because I in my instructions I say it could be either or, and this I think would actually work quite well too. A half scale here if I jump out. So when you have drafter's choice, you have drafter's choice. Yeah, I didn't really mean to pull that like that, but yeah, this particular. I could like get rid of this. I could get rid of this viewport and do one that's not. It looks like it's got plenty of adjustment, but with this one, I do have to be ready for this rev block to potentially grow down on me, and it's not to say that I can't move my notes to the other side. Like probably if I was going to use this sheet, and I was thinking about my layout and potentially revs growing, to me, I just always avoid jamming my part very close into the rev block because it's going to grow potentially, and so I don't want to have to adjust that in the event that I do have revisions happening here. So I tend to avoid that. This note could move. It doesn't have to be on that size, but and I'm not even saying I'm going to use this layout. I'm just saying if I was going to use this layout, this might be how I would proceed to decide what's going to fit best. And really, I'm just trying to say that this probably would be okay. I'd only get a couple revisions before I've got an issue. This still could go over a little bit more though. Something like this. I'd move my note back over here maybe. Gotta keep my notes. My rev block can grow a couple, and hopefully I don't have more revisions than that. Otherwise, I got to rescale this down, and maybe then it becomes really small. But this would work. Yeah, a size vert would work. I feel like I get a little more room here to I'm gonna I'm gonna jump back over here. Sometimes I don't like to leave layouts where I haven't locked them. So that's a good note. I might lock that view. This to me, maybe it fits a little better because I can still come down a little bit, bring these up, this down and away. So yeah, this is a good layout, the vertical layout. Yeah, I'll do the B size because I'll do a custom scale maybe. So maybe it's a little overkill, but it's a sheet that I could probably put more parts on if there was more with this assembly. Um, but I think I'm gonna let's build a custom scale. I think I've done this before, but I'll just do it again. So you don't have that many options. I feel like I like a lot of them in between. So not my templates aren't built out with any like nice ready to use something that's in between one and what I find is mostly what I need is something in between half and one a lot. And I need something sometimes in between one and two. So, you know, a half, a full, and a double is just always a little bit too not quite a fine enough scales for me, but it works for a lot. So what I do is I scroll down here to custom, build a custom scale. It wants you to know you're going to add one. Yes, I'm going to add a new scale to this, and then you have to pick what the name is. I usually make it look like a ratio, right? So it's like a fraction. I think I'll do a 3/4 scale, so I think I'll just do like a 3/4 scale. 3/4. My paper units are going to be 3/4, which you can do as a fraction, or you can do 0.75. Sorry, 3/4. I think you can still do a ratio there too, 3/4. And if I say okay, it shows up there. I'm just going to say okay here, then I can pick it from this menu now. It's there, 3/4 scale. And there is, maybe it fits a little better. I clear the rev block better here. And so I'll probably just lock it at a 3/4 scale and start dimensioning. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty flexible. So here we go. I'm going into dimension now. So I'm on my dimension layer. Yeah, it is kind of critical to know those what these center. I'm going to leave those center lines on there to kind of control the troughs and peaks of the points here. So I do want to know what those dimensions are. So I'm going to use those as just a diameter dimension, like I've got on my print. I just called this one out at 8, and I called this one out at 6. Whether you put that anywhere. The kind of rule is at 45 degrees, but I'm going to bundle these two kind of together so they're in close proximity to each other. I think I've told you, I don't really follow any specific rule on how close or far away. I don't like it to be like crazy far away, and I don't like it to be so close that I lose my arrow. So just watch for that. Um, and then I'm going to need to know that 20 degrees, it was pretty critical. And I think if I do that, I could turn this one into a center line as well. I don't show that there. I don't show that I'm like one thing that I may add that's maybe is I might actually add where this is referencing 20 degrees here to this. I might make this just a little more clear. This kind of breaks away from that a ways. I think I'm going to turn my construction line into a center line and let it extend past here a 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to dimension maybe so I'll put my 18 by 20 degrees down on the one that I have already construction line. So I think I'm going to turn this into I'm going to turn that into a center line. So I'm just going to match properties there. Then I'll do the ASME rule here. So I'll pull this thing out, make sure I don't pull it off of the right angle, but just a 1/4 inch extension pass like this. I think I'm going to drop it behind the part here. So if that modifier that I use is the send to back. And then I've got my visible line on top of that center line. That looks better. I'm going to do the same thing here where I'm going to send this to back. and get the visible lines on top of the center line there. I like that better. You could do that. Bring it to forward, right? Send it to front. Whichever one. Sometimes one works better than the other, and it looks more clear. That one worked for me. And then I just need that dimension. It's an angular dimension. So I'll choose angular here. And what I really want to know is from here to here. This is 20 degrees. Yeah, that looks a little clearer to me than it did on the actual sheet. There's 18 of these though, so I have 18 times that. This these ones too. If you came here and then you go back out like 0.375, I'm not sure. It might not be far enough. So I'm going to pull this out just far enough that I clear everything like that, so it's easy to read. I still need to dimension this, but essentially what I have is I have a kind of a part located on a center grid, essentially an XY center line. My part profile has an outer diameter of 8, inner diameter. So I have some size. These are sizing diameters to me. They're kind of the size of this tooth. Then I would have, so that would allow to give me just what I had to draw. And then I have 20 degrees down. So I kind of have size and location and amount of these. So I have size. So I feel like I've sized and located my part for the, the main profile of the part and the teeth. And I just need to focus on this now to size and locate it. So I think I'm still going to drop in the diameter of this, and I could pull this out anyway. It's got to go out a ways just to get it off the. And then I'm going to do the ASME. So that's the one add-on I add on. Otherwise, I think it would be slightly hard to build. Generally, what someone knows when they cut a keyway or key seat is they know the shaft diameters. That's what really drives the sizing of the key is knowing how big the shaft is that I'm matching or whatever. And then the key can be cut according to that. The keyway, the key seat can all be cut knowing what the diameters are. And then what drives the diameter? Well, that's your engineering. Engineering is going to tell us how big of a diameter we need uh, to transfer this much torque to something, right? That's got to be the diameter's got to be an engineered design size to withhold the to yeah. Anyway, so they're engineering's determining our diameters. Our diameters are determining the keyway key seat relationship. So it's kind of a system that has to follow. There's rules in place there, so it's not like I just get my choice and I'll just try this. Maybe it'll be big enough to work. That's not a great a way to proceed with things. So there's some calculations that can be done to make sure it has better success of working. But even in 2023, I saw companies still things that you think of they should have dialed in, like keyways, key seat, and key size. There was some equipment that was built that was just kind of scaled up to fit. And so we took some old models and just made them, oh, they just need to be about twice as big to handle twice as much load. And the truth is that didn't work out. Like we found that you can't just scale things and sorry, I jump off there so Sky can log in, but you can't just scale something up and have everything scale right. So it was a poor choice that we made, and it cost us a lot of broken parts and wondering why. And the reason why is the shaft diameters were too small for the loads that it was seeing. So yeah, so I will jump on your screen in just a minute, but what I'm going to do is add those dimensions the ASME wants, which are going to be the same ones that are on my PDF essentially. I've kind of got a size, but I don't have the size with the little key cut on top. So I'm going to need that Y dimension 1.36, and then I'm going to need to locate it, size and locate it in the kind of in the X direction there.
inch measurement to locate it. That is
Yeah, that's a location. Yeah. And that's where somebody might debate you and they might and you could be in, this could be like your checker could grab that and be like, I don't think you need that eighth of an inch because it's clearly shown that it's centered with the center. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. So, you could choose to drop that or not. I'm going to leave it because I do like it as a location. It just shows that which is the general location of keyways and key. That's why it's maybe could be omitted in the future, like in an experience shop, because they'd be like, it's always centered. We know that. We don't do off. There could be some weird reasons where you would, and so, but generally it's understood that that keyway key seats are going to be like clocked at least when they're designed and they're going to be clocked at either 12, 3, 6, or 9, right? And okay, cool. Excellent. So what I'm going to do is
right click on dimension and right different position.
oh yeah, if you're gonna make that precise, you just click it one time. If you double click on your dimensions, you're always in to edit the dimension or add symbols to it or whatever, right? So just one click in, right click. There's your precision. You can bump it to a different dimension style if it was something that had maybe a tolerance and you had a dimension. We have some tolerance stuff here. Technically, we're not going to completely design this right because there should be some tolerance applied. Well, we kind of have it. We have a general tolerance now, so all of our dimensions are going to be driven by the general tolerance in the title block. But yeah, that's how this is a quick one-off way to change something. Yeah, just select it first and then so I've just got to add my linear dimensions here. So I need this one. ASME tells me this one is critical. So I'm going to drop that one out here. And I could drop it to either side if I feel like that's just going to conflict with my other. I only have a single view, so either side is good. Um, and just making sure I clear the center mark is probably what I'm doing more than actually following that 3/8 off. I'm just going to go like this and say, I'm just going to clear that center mark. I'm probably further away than 3/8. And then I just need the dimensions in the other direction. So I need the total overall width here of this particular keyway. I'll drop that one up there for a minute. And then this is the one that's debatable that someone might say, well, I don't know if you need this or not. And I like it. It just shows that this is a location off center here. So I'm gonna keep that one in. I might jump this to the other side just so they don't conflict a little bit. I'm gonna up the precision of this. That's a single click, right click, precision, 3 decimal place. And then this is pretty much done. And then just check my title block. That's size and location. Kind of have redundant size here. Maybe I'll cut this one through. I'll keep this one as my dimension line. I'll cut that one through this one, I think. I've got a little bit of an extension line issue. I grabbed the center arc here, so I'm going to pull this back. That way I could tell that the extension line wasn't breaking off. That looks correct. That's a diameter. This is not a diameter. It has the keyway associated with it. So the symbology all looks correct. Pretty much a mirror image of it looks just like what we did. Yeah. And then I just need to fill out my title block here. So I'm going to jump back out and fill out this stuff. So one thing I've got to add that note here for thickness. So if I'm going to do it this way and I'm not going to show a side view or a section view, I'm just going to add this plate thickness. 0.125. And I don't have to put inches or anything. My tolerance block says that this is inches unless otherwise noted. So I just need to fill this out though. My scale is 3/4 to 1, so I got to change that for sure. 3/4 to 1, or sorry, 3/4, not 3/4 to 1, but well, kind of, yes. And then yep, got the right sheet size. I'm the one that drew it, so my initials, you can choose 2 or 1, or I mean, a few initials. Or I just put in 2, and then my date is the 7th, right? 07. And then 25. Yeah, go ahead, David. Oh yeah, so I'm changing the title block. So this is, if I have to download and use those templates from the resources area, so they have title blocks that are ready to fill out. So yeah, you just double click on this. So this is just like this is editable. It'll bring up this dialog box to just change some of the yeah, let's see. I'll count up here, right? I had to put in the scale. That's really critical. Then I had to initial it because it's me doing the initial drawing and the date. So that's the third one. The title I need to change. So the title can be just I haven't even saved the drawing number, but they can usually match or and so you can just write that this is either just the ratchet plate or I usually always put the CAD. It just helps me search my files a little bit. Mine's CAD 1108, and this is a ratchet plate. I do all caps there. And then we'll generally only be on one sheet for a while. And I need to save the drawing so this will populate because it says it's just drawing one. So I'm just going to say okay. And I don't know why my title. This is interesting. I don't think that filled out. I think I put my the cage code is where I had my ratchet plate go. So that's my title was not. I was in the wrong dialog box. So that one should be there. My cage code really should have nothing in it, so I could just delete it out. But I think it initially had a couple of dashes apply. So, okay, that looks better. Cage code is a government label, a DoD thing. So, um, gotta resize my viewport a little bit. It's cutting off my drawing. Um, the revision block is the other one I have to do. So I just double click on it. It's got the same. It's got four things to fill out here. Your initials again. So oh, one thing I didn't do is I didn't save my drawing yet. So I'm gonna do a save as just so I get this saved as a name. Mine's going here. Mine's a ratchet plate. Mine's the ratchet plate ortho, which is mostly just a single view. But I don't quite have enough room for that full of a title. So I'd have to change this if I didn't want to interfere with my rev number. So don't choose a drawing number that's like going to interfere with your next box. Mine does a little bit here, but normally it wouldn't. And then I'm going to edit this one too. So this one also will have my initials and another date selection. Yeah, on the approved, it's like you're approving it. You're doing your own approval. It's kind of dangerous. I like for the description, it just means usually a revision is going to have a description. So the initial one that's Rev 0, I just usually put something like sent to production, which just is a symbol that this was a Rev 1. It was sent off after all the approval process. Sent to production is just something that works for me. But a company may have something they like to, the Rev 0 will carry this description. They may always have something. Um, there. And then of course as the revs come in and if this particular sheet was involved in a revision, then the description would be what I kind of did, just a brief like couple few words, whatever I can fit in that description box of what was changed. And then the sheets associated with it maybe. So the zone could be really changed to sheet maybe, but I'll just leave it as zone and I'm going to still leave it as rev 0. So the only thing I need to just fill out is I just put NA because I really don't have any zoning on my sheets anyway. So it would be more of maybe I would change that to sheet on this, but I'm just going to say okay. I should build that title block so it already like the next time you open and click on it, it wants to build the next little section there to add because ideally I would have you guys do your revisions and resubmit them. But you got to get them graded to even know what to resubmit, and that's my problem. Got to get them graded. So I'm just making sure I'm not chopping that off a little bit. And yeah, I think this is, I can do a double check here on my Control P to print this thing. These all your plots should be set up for these. So you shouldn't have to change anything on your plot setup. So I'm going to preview this. This is my B-size sheet. I know that those object lines will pop. I just want to make sure they're on the right layer and see them pop like that. But My monitor's not quite big enough to get them to pop just on full display. But yeah, I think this looks good. So that's a keyway key seat. I mean, that's the main reason why I want to do this one is keyway key seat. And we didn't really do the key seat associated with this. That would be the other part that goes with it. And we don't have the key as well. So the machinist Bible is going to also probably have the information they need to, if you show them this, they're going to know that, okay, this is the keyway. They're going to look for the part that has the key seat and then they're going to also know from their information what the key would be. So some companies will not have to draw the key because that'll just be information that is obtainable for the machinist. But some places will actually draw the key that would go with this as well. So just depends on how complete they are. But really, with the information machinists have, they can determine what key will go in this and what the key seats that would match it will look like too. So we're telling the people here that we're holding this to 3 decimal places for the location of that. That's plus or minus 5 thousandths. So that might be a little bit too sloppy for an actual key seat. 5 thousandths is quite a bit of a pretty loose tolerance on something that's might need more tolerance. So somebody would critique this and say, I think you should probably have a better tolerance applied to these, like a specific tolerance and to this as well. So just for future, note that. I think we get into some of those in the future too, just for your information. Then I would save this thing as my PDF for sure. It looks good. And I would say, okay, and save that thing somewhere. Actually, I'm going to save this because it's just slightly different than my other one. So I'm going to save this as my in-class one. I might swap them out. I like my dimensioning on this one just a little bit better than my last one. So I'll save it here. 3/4 scale. Yep, got it. So then if I chose not to use these, then I would just go ahead and get rid of them at this point. So if you chose to use these ones, I think they'll look really good at a half scale, just with a little bit of an adjustment here. These should work good. One thing to note, sometimes if your dimensions act like they haven't like adjusted for you, just unlock the viewport and maybe flex this thing and make sure your annotative dimensioning, sorry, let me go back. Annotative dimensioning like kind of flexes and pops for you. So sometimes locked viewports, they won't allow that automation to happen there. So just unlock them for a minute, flex them, and then put them back, and then readjust if needed. It looks like I need to get in here and readjust. So some of your distances might be affected with the scaling that's going on there. So I don't worry about it too much, other than if I do see that it's happened, I'm going to come out here and just make sure for clarity's sake that I pull these where they're going to be viewable. I think that's the only dimension that seemed like it was affected poorly when I flex that. So this one I'm happier with at a half scale. If this is what I end up using, I would lock it now. But definitely just find yourself maybe having to flex those. With dimensions, a half scale is a little tight on this one, but it probably would still fit if I just stretch this up. It's close. I'd have to come down a little bit, but coming away from the sides. I'll make sure I'm not cutting off any center lines or any dimensions at all. That's getting pretty close to I'd like to go up a little bit more. I'm gonna leave both my layouts just because since I save this, I'm gonna kind of like to have it in my future that I was able to fit it at half scales on my horizontal. But for the one that you turn in, you could decide which one you want and delete the rest and just have the single layout with the one you chose. I don't care if you keep both as well. Like that, maybe just I'm gonna get rid of as many as I definitely am not gonna use, but it's okay to have a couple options here. But yeah, I'm gonna say I didn't fill out all the title block for these, but you would have to. So just make sure the title block we filled out is specific just to that sheet. So if you're gonna use these other sheets, essentially fill them out the same way. Yeah, definitely. And the one I always really zero focus in on is the scale, that your scale matches your actual scale. So it's not that you can't put other things of different scales on the sheet, but when you do that, you need to like have you almost need to have like a view header that says what scale it's at. So if it's essentially you're adding a local note to that view that it's at a different scale than maybe is what noted on the sheet. So it's not that you can't do that. You just want to note that in a title underneath the view. And so we haven't really started titling our views yet, but we will start that sometime, like giving it a view title. It really comes into play when you have multiple parts on one sheet, and then you've got to kind of title it so that, over here I might say that this is CAD 1108 ratchet plate, and in the large, generally the title header will be my large text size, and then below it, sometimes they're underlined, sometimes they're not, but I'm going to have a title, and then underneath it I might have the normal size text, and it might say the scale of that, and it might say the quantity of that, it might say the material of that, if it's different than anything that would be different than the title block. So I can make a large, like just a multi-line text that has the initial one as the title of it, usually the title of the part or something, or a part number, and then its scale and whatever else information you need to carry in kind of a multi-line text. So that's how you would have like multiple parts on one page, is definitely title them. And yeah, it might be a single title, even if it's multi-views of a part, and I can fit multiple parts with multiple views. I'm just going to title probably one of the views, maybe the front view usually, and I don't have to title all my views. I will title section views, and I will title auxiliary views. If I've done like rotated or removed section views, I might title them. Well, section views get titled usually anyway, so let's do that next. This is where I want to stop this one. So I'm going to call this one done and turned in, and jump over to